I was like, I had to do it.
We exit out from the back. You're good. It's a whisper.
Everyone, please take a seat so we can get started. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Coastal Protection Restoration Authority, and would everyone rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Dove,
Present.
Mr. Davidson,
Present.
Mr. Williamson,
Present.
Mr. Bosworth,
Present.
Ms. Biamonte, Ms. Duvick, Mr. Bro, Ms. Campo, Mr. Caldwell, Director Thibodeau,
Here.
Mr. Beers,
Here.
Mr. Alford,
Here.
President Joel,
Here.
Mr. Gow, Mr. Jordan,
Present.
Mr. Bourgeois,
Here.
Mr. Hidalgo,
Here.
Ms. Cormier, Mr. Carville,
Here.
Mr. Lane, Representative Zarain,
Here.
Senator Henskins.
We have a quorum, approval of the agenda, motion to approve the agenda. Tony Alford, second by Matt Jewell, all in favor? Aye. None opposed. Any public comments on the agenda? Once, twice, three times, thank you. Approval of the minutes, motion to approve the minutes. So moved. Motion by Mr. Bourgeois, second by Mr. Hidalgo, all in favor? Aye. Any public comments on the minutes of the motion? Being none. Old business announcements, any board members? Seeing none, we'll move on. CPRA implementation update. Executive Director Glenn Leday. Mr. Leday, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about our implementation update for May of 2024. So with that, I'll just jump right in. As we do every month, we update the board on our active projects. And so as we kind of talked over the last couple of months, we have 109 active projects. As you can see here, we have 44 in construction, another 59 in the engineering and design, and then 5 in planning. And so as you can see, and oftentimes we talk about in our annual plan and in our master plan, it takes a variety of different types of projects to protect and restore our coast. And you can see there we have all of those projects throughout our master plan that are active in one of these phases. On the hurricane protection side, you can see in the planning that we work a lot with the Corps of Engineers on planning efforts and feasibility studies, as well as planning efforts within the state and locals to build some of these large-scale hurricane protection and flood risk reduction projects. And so as you can see here, we've got 109 active projects and 44 in construction. As we've presented in our annual plan, we're working towards continuing to increase the percentage of construction to 80 and 90% of our total implementation efforts. So continue to do that, and you'll see that progression throughout my presentations over the next fiscal year. With that, one of the things that we want to start doing in this implementation update is providing you with a monthly construction update on the projects that are advertising and being awarded. And so this is that first update, and you can see there we've got 5 projects that are currently in that process. So it's really exciting. So I'll just go through this and obviously answer any questions at the end of my presentation. But you can see there, the first one that we've talked a lot about over the last couple of months is the river reintroduction into Maurepas Swamp. And so that is the freshwater diversion structure that's part of that Maurepas effort that we've been working on for quite some time, and that is the working kind credit for West Shore Lake Pontchartrain, as well as the mitigation for that project. We are advertising really the first large-scale reach of that project, Reach 6. That's being advertised now, and bids will open on May 29th of this year. And so that's an exciting milestone in this program. In addition to that, we see the Rose Thorn Tidal Protection Phase 2 project. And this is a project that we are working with the town of Lafitte on, and that is for tidal flood risk reduction for the community of Lafitte. That is a project that had the construction notice to proceed has been issued, and so construction should be beginning soon. And that has been awarded to Circle Construction, who also did the work on Phase 1 of that project. So that's another exciting milestone for the town of Lafitte for getting flood risk reduction for their community. On that bottom row there, we're starting with the Grand Bayou Ridge and Marsh Creation Project. That's a project we actually talked about in last month's meeting. That is a QIPRA project, and the bids on that project will open in April 24th of this year, and they are currently under review by the state. And so that will hopefully be awarded soon. But that's a QIPRA project that we talked about last month. The last 2 projects you see there are the Terrebonne Home and Navigation Canal Bird Island Restoration Project. That is a NERDA project that I think we've updated the board on within the last year. The bids on that project were actually open in March 27th of this year, and that bid award is being routed for approval, and we'll have an update on that next month, but should be starting construction this summer. And then finally, the Bayou Elusia Ridge Restoration Project. That's a project that the bid was awarded April 15th, 2024. That construction project went to U.S. Aqua Services out of New Iberia, and they'll be starting construction soon. And so, as you can see, as we talk a lot, the amount of construction within our implementation program continues to increase. We've got a lot going on, and so we want to continue to update the board on this activity. And then with that, one of the new things that we want to start doing on this implementation update is updating on the activity within our engineering and design more frequently. Wanted to update you on 2 projects that we have here. And so these are actually 2 grant award opportunities that the state was awarded. And so as the board knows, our staff have been working hard on applying for grants for federal funding to continue to increase the amount of capacity and funding that we have at the state. And so these are 2 projects I wanted to update you on. The first is the Central Wetlands Hydrologic Restoration Project. This is a project where we'll be doing spallbank gapping and marsh creation. Our engineering and design is underway. We have actually held 2 community charrettes in St. Bernard Parish where the project is located. But this is a NIF America the Beautiful project that we've been awarded a grant for. Our staff, Greg Randy and Morris Shadow, they've done a lot of work to get these projects underway, and so just want to showcase these. In addition to that, we have the Irish Bayou Living Shoreline Project. This is another NIFWIF grant that we've been awarded. This is the NIFWIF National Coastal Resiliency Grant. And so that has just been awarded. We're processing the award paperwork, and we will be initiating engineering and design beginning later this month and throughout the summer. And so that's an exciting project. That's in Orleans Parish, and we'll be rolling on that this summer. But yet the essential update here is really, continuing to work hard to get additional grant funding opportunities for the state and build projects across the coast. And this is two examples of that. They're in the engineering and design phase. And with that, want to do what we do every month, which is to update the board on some of the exciting work that we have on the ground now on some critical projects. And so got a couple of updates today. The first is a shoreline protection and restoration project. And so that is a project that's being led by Jefferson Parish, one of our local partners, and that's one that we've heard a lot about in the news and here at the board, and that is the Bucktown Living Shoreline Protection Project in Jefferson Parish. And so, as I think a lot of people have seen, this is really a one-of-a-kind project that is looking to restore land in that 1 mile stretch along the Lake Pontchartrain Trail, on the Lake Pontchartrain shoreline from the Bonneville Park all the way to the Bucktown Harbor and Marina. And so with that, we have really the living shoreline and marsh restoration work that is ongoing that we'll show you in a second. That will help to provide both restoration and resiliency to the Lake Pontchartrain shoreline and provide resiliency to the Lake Pontchartrain levee system there. And so this is actually started in 2019 by a really innovative master plan that Jefferson Parish led and has really taken off. And so with that, you can see renderings of the work that Jefferson Parish is in the process of doing. And again, a lot of this is looking at some of the things that we've talked about over the last couple of months, where we're providing a multifaceted effort with both resiliency, restoration, and in addition to that, areas for the community to really enjoy some of the products that we're putting on the ground. And so you can see that in this rendering of what this will eventually look like. But today we wanted to update you on the construction activity. And so one of the first things that was constructed is that first line of the fence. You can see there a series of breakwaters was constructed, and that was completed recently. What's ongoing now is the restoration component behind it. They're building strips of land and terraces and marsh behind the breakwater system in between the levee system. And so it's really a lot of great activity right there on the lakefront. As I said, this project is being led by Jefferson Parish. Councilwoman Jennifer Van Rankin was very critical in getting this work started. Michelle Gonzalez with the parish is leading this. But this is another great example of a partnership. So this has dollars from the state of Louisiana, from CPRA, from NOAA, and from NIFWIF. And was most recently awarded the NIFWIF National Resiliency Fund Grant Award. And so a lot of this activity is really that partnership between all of these entities coming together for this great project. As you can see there, we've got a lot of firms that are engaged in this work. Crosby Lohr Brothers is doing the construction right now. Some of the design of some of that work is being led by Moffitt and Nickel. But you can see that the Louisiana business community is helping to contribute to this effort. And just like to showcase that work that they're doing there. We'll continue to update on this project, but it's really a neat project where the community actually gets to experience right there on the ground all of the great restoration and coastal protection work and resiliency work that's ongoing in the state. In addition to that, I wanted to provide a restoration update of a CPRA project that's ongoing now, and that is the Mid-Breton Land Bridge Marsh Creation Project. And so, we talk a lot about land bridges and how critical they are to providing both restoration and resiliency to our community. This is an example of that. So this is really the first of hopefully future segments of this land bridge that would go from St. Bernard to Plaquemines Parish. And this is a project that's actually in Plaquemines Parish on that St. Bernard Parish line. This project will create and nourish intertidal marsh with material that will be dredged from Lake Leary. And so happy to update you on this today. And so this is another CPRA project. This is a project that CPRA is working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife on. You can see there those polygons or 4 polygons of marsh creation that's being done just south of the Delacroix community, just south of Lost Lake. And so as you can see, we'll continue to hopefully progress that across the basin and build that land bridge. And this is the first of one of those segments. You can also see on the top of that image, that's another project that was constructed. That's the South Lake Leary Shoreline Marsh Creation Project right there on that Lake Leary shoreline. So as we continue to build these projects, you can see the impact that they have together. And so it's really a great example of that. This is a CPRA project that was awarded phase 2 construction dollars and moving forward in construction on that effort. So you can see there, that's the Delacroix community in the far corner. This is the ongoing work where they're building the containment dikes with marsh buggies, and they will be progressing to hydraulically fill that in and recreate that marsh. This project will rebuild roughly 373 acres of marsh in Plaquemines Parish with roughly 2.42 million cubic yards of material that will be hydraulically dredged from Lake Leary. So really a great example of the CPRA program, pretty great projects on the ground, and happy to update you on this today. This is more video imagery of the construction that's ongoing now. As you can see, the marsh buggies on barges providing the critical work that we need to build the containment dike systems that will eventually contain the hydraulically dredged marsh. And so as this project progresses, we will continue to update you on this. And as we do on all these projects, we like to showcase really the economic impact that these projects have for the state. You can see a number of engineering construction firms were engaged in this effort to do a variety of things, anything from call for resources to hydrologic modeling to survey and geotech. And so you see all those firms that were engaged. And then the prime contractor on this project is the Coastal Dredging Company. And so just like to showcase the total impact, as Scott Kirkpatrick told you last month, that all of this work has on the community and businesses in South Louisiana. And finally, I'd like to provide a set of additional updates that we have for you today. A lot has gone on over this last month, and want to provide some good news to you on all the ongoing activities in the coastal world and within CPRA. And so the first, I know we've seen a number of you on the board and in the audience, but we had the annual workshop for the Association of Louisiana Levee Boards. I had an opportunity to present at that along with Colonel Jones and the Corps and along with Billy Williamson and DOTD. And so we really provided some great updates on the ongoing flood risk reduction and hurricane protection work in the state. But as you see there, Colonel Jones really provides a great slide to showcase all of the work that's ongoing across the state. So I'm not going to steal his thunder, but he's got some updates there. But it's really a good example of the partnerships between the Corps of Engineers, the state of Louisiana, and the local partners and all Louisiana levee districts on all of the work that's been going on, really one over the last 20 years, but here recently we've had a lot of success. And so I thought that was a great program, and I was excited to really present to the levee boards in Louisiana. In addition to that, we've talked a lot about the Nichols Coastal Center, and so we're excited today to kind of showcase some of the activity there. As you can see, that building is really progressing well. The pictures there showcase construction that's ongoing today. We anticipate that building will be completed before the end of the year. CPRA has worked with Duplantis Design Group and Ratcliffe and the Office of Facility Planning and Nichols on doing this. So special thanks to everybody that was involved in this. This is going to be a great facility. We are working right now with the Office of Facility Planning and Nichols to build out the area that CPRA and the Governor's Office of coastal activities we'll take up as we move into that space next year. And so working towards that, and then we'll be building that out after this building is complete. But just wanted to provide an update on that. Special thanks to President Clune and Lacey also on all the work that they're doing to get this up and running. In addition to that, I wanted to provide an update on the CPRA LaBranch dedication. And so this was an exciting dedication. Unfortunately, Chairman Dove and I were not able to attend. We were presenting the annual plan in the Senate, and Brent Haas, Deputy Director, attended that with Colonel Jones and provided a great presentation on that great dedication. As you can see here, this is a CPRA project with NRCS, and really was kind of a great showcase. This is one of, first is really a large-scale marsh creation project for the CPRA program. President Jewell was there as well. This is really a very large CPRA project that's over 500 acres of marsh creation, but it's also adjacent to the first CPRA project that was ever built almost 30 years ago. And so really just a great showcase of the work that's been done over the last 20 or 30 years. With this, this is kind of showcasing the amount of work that we're doing to rebuild lost land in the Pontchartrain Basin. And so happy to showcase this to the board, but just another great activity that's taken place over this last month. In addition to that, all of the coastal community and the coastal team does tremendous work year after year. And so every year, the CRCL group does a great job to have a banquet and then showcase this hard work in stewardship awards. And so that took place last week. CRCL had a banquet in Baton Rouge, and actually 2 members of CPRA's team were awarded some great awards. You can see there, Kenneth Bollinger, Kenny B, was awarded the Louisiana Coastal Vegetative Planning Program Award, and he has helped to be instrumental in that effort over the last 30 years of hard work to provide plantings of native species across the coast. And so really want to give him a big thanks. In addition to that, the CPRA Coastal Master Plan team was awarded the Sue Hawes Award for all the hard work that they did over that 6-year period to develop the 2023 Coastal Master Plan for a Sustainable Coast. And so really congratulations to them, as well as all the other award members. We have some in the audience today, so I just wanted to list those. If you don't mind, they did a lot of great work and just want to showcase that. The first is Steve Cochran, got the Lifetime Achievement Award. Blaise Bazole with the Muro Foundation. Jacqueline Richard at the Nunez Community College. Polly Glover at Restore and Retreat. Mike Fallon was a friend of CRCL, and Tom Schroller was a volunteer of the year. So really a great banquet and the ability to showcase all the hard work that Team Coastal does throughout the state. In addition to that, we had Earth Week as well as Love the Boot Week, and so with that, CPRA was able to do some hard work there to pick up trash and beautify the state and the water campus. And so just a special thanks to all the hard work that the CPRA team did there. Greg Randy, Kenny B, and Jessica Diaz helped to lead that effort. So special thanks to them. And I know that everyone else from across the state also did this job to help clean up litter across the state. This is really a great program to help do the work to clean up litter for Love the Boot Week. And then finally, want to just put a plug in for a really great upcoming event. It's the Shores Fly-In. This is a congressional fly-in from a lot of advocates across the coast for Team Coastal, and we will be flying to Washington, D.C. June 11th through the 13th to advocate for our energy sharing for offshore revenue. So this is something that we've been doing for several years. Neil McMillan has led this effort and does a fantastic job. We are trying to spread the word to get as big of a group there so we can have a huge impact on sharing the good work that we do, but also advocating for future revenues with our congressional delegation. And so if you do have time, we'd love to see you there. and work with us on advocating for coastal revenue. This is June 11th through 13th of this year, so that's upcoming next month. And finally, as always, connect with us on social media at any of these efforts, as well as our website. We've got a lot of ongoing work this summer that we'll be updating you on, but just excited to showcase all the work that we've got going on in coastal Louisiana. So with that, if the board's got any questions, happy to answer those. Thank you, Chairman Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Lede, and on the Nichols Coastal Center, it's really coming along. For knowledge of the members in the audience, we're gonna have 5,000 square feet. It was one of Governor Jeff Landry's that he really wanted to get into the coastal parishes with CPRA exposure, and so that's what we're moving more into the Thibodeau area, which is Nichols State, and we thank Dr. J. Clune and everyone on board for moving it along, and it's really gonna be a good presence there with 5,000 square feet. And with that, any questions from members? Do we have, oh yes, Mr. Carroll.
In regards to the Outward Line project, when do you anticipate construction to begin, and what does it all involve?
Thank you. So we anticipate probably a 2-year engineering and design process. Obviously, we're going to try to accelerate that as much as possible. It's a shoreline protection project with some marsh creation components on the protected side of the shoreline protection. And so oftentimes we have to do the engineering design, the data collection, and then land rights and permitting. That could be roughly a 2-year process, and then we'll begin construction.
That's pretty much along the Highway 11, is that correct? Highway?
That is, it's I guess along kind of the Wrigley's area, along right there by just north of kind of the Golden Triangle area.
And is there any practical purpose to the constructions besides that's based on the title, living shoreline?
Yes, so it's actually an expansion of an existing project, so it's continuing to protect that shoreline and then restore the marsh that had been lost over the last 10 plus years. And so just really kind of building on continuing to build on existing projects that we have to really restore land that's been lost over this last decade.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any other member? Mr. Bourgeois.
Yeah, just real quick, you might actually have to look back to Neil to get the number, but the GOMESA fly-in, we call it that, the Breeze Rise Act, everything. I can't overstate how important it is to have as many people up there for that. So I was gonna ask how many people, Neil, or if you know, how many
Yeah, Neil and I
people
signed
signed
up.
up
For right now. It was roughly 50 the other day, and that's
Good.
Yeah. So we're trying to obviously get as many people as we can.
Right, the more people we have, the bigger teams we have, the more teams can go and meet all of the other offices around the United States who do not have the appreciation of what we need out of this and how much the importance of GOMESA is to us. So just want to make that comment.
Thank you, Mr. Bourgeois. Anyone else? With that,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Lede, for the great presentation. Wait, I'm sorry.
So,
Gotta look down.
hey, Glenn, I just wanted to request, can you have somebody from your staff reach out to me on the Rosethorn title project? I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, that's a legacy project that came over from DOPD. So I think we have $1 to $2 billion in legacy funds on that one. So just, I think we need to coordinate on how those funds are.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lede. Great presentation. Very informative. And with the next one, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers update, Colonel Cullen Jones with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And Mr. Jones, Colonel Jones, thank you very much, and thank you for working as you do with us and expeditiously as you do.
Outstanding, Chairman Doug and members of the board. Thank you so much for the opportunity to again present on the amazing work that we're doing together in South Louisiana. My team provided me an update that I have now pretty much assured my position as providing the most updates as the district engineer to the CPRA board, and excited to keep that lead in the near future. But also really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all about our hurricane response plan for 2024, how we are integrating with state and local response and recovery efforts, and then also providing some critical updates on our coastal storm and hurricane storm damage risk reduction projects that we are delivering together throughout South Louisiana. So first off, as a quick overview of our hurricane response plan, I'm excited to talk about how both the New Orleans District and the greater U.S. Army Corps of Engineers enterprise will be poised to help support the state and local response in the event of a tropical event for hurricane season 2024. Given the complexities of such an event, we like to keep ourselves simple with regards to our lines of effort. So we operate on 3 major lines of effort during a tropical event. Number one, of course, being ensuring the accountability and safety of our teammates, their families, and their loved ones, simultaneously working on how we can best support state and local response and recovery efforts, and then also rapidly assessing and reopening our critical infrastructure to ensure that those 2,800 miles of inland waterways are ready and available to support in both response and recovery efforts. So what do we bring to the fight? Everyone knows here that all emergencies are local and response starts at the local and state level. So how does the Corps of Engineers provide federal resources to help in those elements? You can see on this slide here the authorities and programs that we have available. The main response capability that we have within the New Orleans District falls under what is called Public Law 8499, Flood Control and Coastal Emergencies. This enables us to bring both funding and personnel in support to local and state responses. This can range from everything from technical assistance, where we provide inundation mapping, for example, and our local government liaisons and additional support, but also direct assistance where we provide flood fight equipment and also emergency contracting elements in regards to stabilization of structures, just to name a few. At the same time, we can also see that we have authorities under our current civil works to rapidly reopen our structures and clear our inland waterways. You see this in a stark example with the Francis Scott Key Bridge as they're working to clear that ship channel and reopen the Patapsco River. Also, of course, as for a larger response element, we also have authorities under the Stafford Act where we will fall under the FEMA's response for Emergency Support Function 3 for Public Works and Engineering. That's where we'll bring in additional assets within the Corps to provide resources such as blue roof, debris removal, temporary power, just to name a few. Also, in addition to that, within the New Orleans District, we provided FEMA support on missions such as unwatering, where we leverage elements such as the Navy supervisors, salvage, and diving. So this provides you a quick overview of seeing where our authorities are at work. On the upper left is a great example under Public Law 8499, where we are providing technical assistance in the dropping of super sack sandbags in Plaquemines Parish. To the right, providing also additional technical assistance where we work alongside both CPRA and the National Weather Service to provide different elements and planning elements for inundation mapping. What you see here is a compound flood inundation map where they have surge, rain, river flooding, all in one map to help both local and state response and planning. On the lower left, you can see a FEMA response support under the Stafford Act, where in Lafitte Parish we were installing large-scale pumps to help in the watering mission. And then on the right side, you see a great example of under our civil works authorities where we are removing a submerged vessel in one of our inland waterways to quickly open up. So this just gives you a general overview of that support that we can provide at the speed of relevancy and support to the state and local efforts. So how are we arrayed to be able to provide this as quickly as possible while we're simultaneously giving accountability of all of our personnel, their families, and their loved ones? How are we going to be poised to quickly go in, provide support to local and state efforts, and also get our infrastructure open as quickly as possible? You can see here delineated on the map is our area of responsibility. Of course, it goes from World River Control Complex to the Gulf of Mexico from heel to toe, across which we have 2,800 miles of inland waterways and 17 critical structures that we work across. So in the event we see a tropical event occur, of course, the majority of our district teammates will take all directions from local and state entities in regards to evacuation orders, but at the same time, we will keep key leadership nodes established throughout the state of Louisiana so we can provide a rapid response. So starting off, myself and 28 of my closest friends in the crisis management team will get the opportunity to maintain our location at our district headquarters located in downtown New Orleans along the Mississippi River levee. Currently, our facility is rated for a Category 2 event, but at the same time, we also have a bunker on location that we will occupy for the duration of the event, which is rated to a Category 5 plus or a Category F4 tornado, where it has us 260 miles per hour. Once post-event, that will enable us to quickly go out and provide command and control support in regards to our response and recovery teams. At the same time, working with the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, we will have a New Orleans District 4, where we'll have at least 5 personnel headed by our Deputy District Engineer, Duran Elsie, who is in the room right here. They'll be lashed up very closely with CPRA. I think they occupy a location at the EOC called Coastal Cove as they go through that process. But at the same time, during a larger scale response, we'll also bring down our commanding general of the Mississippi Valley Division, Brigadier General Kim Peoples, as she brings in additional resources under the Emergency Support Function 3. Current plan and template for that will be the St. Louis District of the Mississippi Valley Division, and they'll establish an initial operating base at our lock structure at Port Allen, just west of Baton Rouge, as they build capacity. At the same time, for continuity of operations, we also established an alternate command post all the way up in Vicksburg, Mississippi, at the Vicksburg District, commanded by our Deputy Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Nathan Leander. And this is primarily to ensure that we have continuity of support roles throughout the mission, primarily most of our division deputies. But what's also important to realize is that we have a much larger team that is within a 7-hour string to return on location and operate remotely in support. We have about 190 people on that element, but realize that that's scalable to the event. Recently during IDA, we had over 300 people working on the response. So as quickly as this event comes in and out, we are getting out on the ground, assessing and finding what we can support. And how can we do that quickly with our coastal parishes is through our elements of the local government liaison program. We have about 40 volunteers within the district, with both Department of Army civilians, wage rates, and active duty military that will array themselves across the coastal parishes, as you see there, alongside the 2 levee authorities, and of course, occupying at the Governor's Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness. The primary mission, and this is a big lesson learned out of Katrina, is information exchange face-to-face. They're going to provide information to those EOCs that they're occupying, but they're also going to be relaying that back to our EOC back in the New Orleans District. They can provide real-time updates and responses to the activities that the Corps is doing in regards to the response, statuses of structures and construction contracts that are ongoing, and also assess local needs and where the Corps can leverage their authorities and capabilities. And a great example of that is they also provide a critical linkage as we bring in, for example, the St. Louis District to provide additional emergency support function through responses. This has been a best practice. We're excited to get them up and running for this season as well. We're going through our initial training. It's exciting for me to move that forward. When you look at our operational sites, you can see here all of our lock systems that go through, in addition to our control structures that are located in blue. Rapidly assess and reopen those systems so we can support recovery and response. Our goal is to maintain the operability of all these sites as long as conditions allow it. And then once again, quickly assess and reopen post-event. When you look at our locks, vessels are locked through until wind velocities become too hazardous. At that point, we'll close, lock gates are closed, and the staff will stay on site until directed to evacuate if needed. And then they'll quickly re-establish assessment of their post-event and reopen as quickly as possible. It's also important to note that those locks will be reopened based off the availability of those ship channels as we identify potential debris and removal of them as well. When you think about our control structures to the west, you can see both catfish and schooner bayou control structures. those are very remote. Catfish you can only get to by vessel or by boat. They're typically going to be left closed when the sites are evacuated and then immediately post-event reopened to allow it to drain any water that is impounded. And of course, up north, we have the Calcasieu saltwater barrier. Those gates are left open to allow the water to drain down to the system, and the crew will be on order to evacuate as necessary. All of this is occurring in real time as we're providing updates to the Unified Command Group, updates to the Director of the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, and coordinating with CPRA in regards to any type of tropical event responses. We're actually going to execute our hurricane rehearsal of concept within the New Orleans District tomorrow as we continue to get our reps and sets in preparation for hurricane season 2024. Before I move on to the updates on our hurricane storm and coastal storm risk reduction projects and the great progress we're making there, I'll pause for any questions in regards to hurricane season response.
Mr. Bourgeois.
Yeah, Colonel, I have to say, having been through Ida with you guys, I don't know how many times Colonel and I were on the phone through the trying to recover. You did an outstanding job. Communications were fantastic. The failings, if any, came, once we had communications reestablished, which was tough to start with, but that's not your issue. Was the failings that became was the subcontractors and the contractors or the subs to the subs that you work for. So I'm just asking, as you go through this exercise again, to maybe double check the capacity of some of those subs, because that was where our failings came in. It was, we can't get to the site, and there's 100 people already on site. How can you not get to the site? And then it took them 4 days to set up a pump. This is not you guys, but it's the contractors that are working for you guys. So I just ask that you press hard on that in your upcoming events to make sure that they understand when you say go, it means go, right? So thank you, but thanks so much for the support. It was incredible. And Chris Dunn was a person assigned to me. You had a couple of people from the Corps in the field trying to get those pumps, and they about pulled their hair out working with the contractors. So just wanted to throw that out there. But thank you.
Mr. Bourgeois, I greatly appreciate that feedback. And just wanted to let you know those lessons learned that came out of IDA were directly utilized when we, as the New Orleans District, were deployed to Florida in response to Ian. We got to the point working with the Navy Supervisor of Salvage and Diving and their subcontractors to the point where we were able to get pumps on ground within 96 hours of funding. So, and that was a direct result from that feedback that we received from individuals such as yourself. So we're excited not to have to utilize that capacity or that capability in the near future. Right. But I do believe
not that we need it, just glad to know it's there. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, Mr. Alfred.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel, I'd just like to say thank you very much. You told me about 2 years ago that that last 5 miles of Morganza, that you were going to step up and make it happen. You have moved mountains. And I know we're fixing to break ground on it. Terrebonne, Lafourche, the whole area of St. Mary, really excited. And I just want to thank you for doing what you said. And you made me a believer in the cavalry. That's shown up. Thank you.
No, thank you very much to Mr. Alford. Excited to talk that update as well during our elements here. Some of the great progress that we made.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mr. Kyle.
First of all, thank you for your service, Colonel. The picture of the search barrier on the very front page of your presentation, I believe that's the search barrier along Lake Lorne, is that correct?
Correct.
In 2009, 2010, when I was in Congress, I actually helped to oversee the construction of that, and we did not know the effects of the search barrier in regards to the local areas surrounding the search barrier. For example, I live in the Mission Isles, which is like maybe 2 or 3 miles east of the search barrier, and I have noticed that in the past several years, there's been more flooding in the neighborhood, street flooding in the neighborhood. Just a couple of months ago, the the water rose up maybe 1.5 feet. So most of the residents were unable to get to their homes. They have to actually park on Chef Highway and then walk to their houses. So I wonder whether or not the search barrier, whether or not it has any effect on the street floodings of the neighborhoods like Venetian Isles. And if it does, is there any way for the Corps of Engineers to better, I guess, regulate the amount of water that happens to move in and out of the Lake-Borgne area to, I guess, lower the threats of street flooding?
So we always look at what the potential impacts of a main structure is on the surrounding areas, both those that are within that protected system and those outside. This is the first time I'm hearing of the potential increase that we had there. We'd have to see how is that related to other impacts or other effects of increased weather systems before we can get to ascertaining if there's any other adjustments that would occur. But thank you very much for letting us know, and I'll get back to the team on that one.
Yeah, because I've lived there for about 22 years, and the first, I guess, 10 years, so I guess before Katrina, we did not experience as much street flooding. But after the construction of the surge, I noticed that there's much more street flooding occurred, much more restoration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. How you doing, Colonel? Good to see you again.
Please stay.
One question I have, over the past couple of years, we've seen more low water events, and typically they occur during hurricane season. And so just wanted to ask, how is your low water action plan going to coordinate with your hurricane response plan? And then also, just making sure if there's anything that we can do with helping to provide additional resources, both talking to Congress. I think Dwayne and Glenn both mentioned the fly-in coming up. Just want to see how those two are interacting with each other, and then also with your MVP maintenance schedule, just get an understanding of what we can expect in the coming months.
Once again, appreciate the question. In regards to low water, given the fact that we had to execute the construction of the underwater sill 2 years in a row with the augmentation during the last low water event, we have completely updated our emergency action plan. That's now the augmented sill with the notch is the game plan, given the modeling and the increased performance that we saw during it, so that we understand where we could see the progression of saltwater intrusion up the Mississippi River. Working with that, also with Plaquemines Parish, they've been able to get those water treatment facilities rotating ready, as it were, reverse osmotic water purification unit ready, so that we can get those in earlier as well. In the long run, we're also updating our review of the Mississippi River ship channel deepening to ensure that we've had a completely updated design plan or design memorandum for the mitigation in the future. So we've got the interim emergency action plan in place. We're going to refine our design memo in the future. The other aspect that we see there is within the parishes, what are they doing to increase their water security, just given the increased rate of low water and drought events. Coming out of the FEMA after action review, they looked at a holistic approach across multiple federal agencies and how they can provide additional support for them, be it EPA or the Corps. For the Corps' perspective, we have an opportunity on under what's called Section 219 environmental infrastructure, and we can provide support for both design and construction of water distribution systems, and there's opportunities there. When you look at those larger scale pump stations that we have, the northern portion of the parishes, such as the Carrollton Water Plant, or we have in Jefferson Parish, given their size and capacity, their ability to aqueduct or pull water further from upriver is going to be the primary solution. Yes, sir.
Mr. Corbett.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel, a pleasure meeting you earlier. I did want to pile on the accolades to the Corps. I know you guys get beat up often, but I'd like to throw some positive comments you guys' way. You guys have done a fantastic job in post-storm response after, particularly in Southwest Louisiana, Hurricane Rita, Ike, Laura, and Delta. And so at some point, maybe perhaps one of your staff could share with us, but
generally there's a bit of a battle between dewatering after an inundation event and then navigation interest. And up to this point in the response plans, the Corps has done a fantastic job of prioritizing opening those locks, getting the water out. I know it presents a challenge in those currents and getting those boats who are still moving goods and services across the country. I would really, at some point, whenever you guys are comfortable, to look at that, but up to now, it's been a fantastic job, and your staff and your predecessors have done a fantastic job in helping get water off of those people's properties so that they could get back in and start to recover. And I was just hoping that perhaps there's something in writing somewhere that says that's going to be the SOP, with the understanding that we've got to accommodate navigation interests. But on behalf of the people down there, a lot of them that work for us, you guys have been a heaven sent in helping get water off of their property so they get back and look and start doing assessments. So I want to thank you, your predecessors, and the staff at the Corps, particularly those lock operators who risk getting back into a pretty hostile environment to really benefit a lot of their colleagues and people in their community. So I want to thank you guys for that, and look forward to maybe looking at that and just ensuring that that's going to be the SOP moving forward, because it's really been beneficial. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that this year, but being prepared, as you guys know all too well, just gives a lot of comfort to a lot of folks down there. So thank you guys.
Thank you very much, sir.
And with that, Colonel?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Excited to provide updates. You can see there on 5 major projects that we're working alongside CPRA to ensure the reduction for both hurricane and coastal storm damage. Starting off, excited to be joined by the Executive Vice President and Board Member of Kiewit, Mr. Doug Glazer, representing the Permanent Canal Closures and Pumps joint venture on the progress that we've made this repair season to ensure that we deliver the 35-year design life for these critical systems for the greater city of New Orleans. Happy to report that we were able to reach a settlement agreement on the 15th of April. Key to that was being able to get to concurrence on a technical solution to deliver that 35-year design life. And I want to pause here to say that that was only possible through the direct support and collaboration of both CPRA and Flood Protection Authority East as we went through that process. Also happy to say, as part of this process, going through and understanding what would be needed to ensure that we get the 35-year design life, the Corps of Engineers is going to be introducing $24 million of additional resiliency features into these pumps, a large amount of replacement of components with stainless steel to get us to a point where we're wearing belts and suspenders on these systems for the foreseeable future. And as such, we've been able to go through, and through the end of this month of May, we're going to be completing the repairs on the 4 pumps, 2 located at 17th Street and 2 at London Avenue. Recent update that we've got from the joint venture, they will be complete with the assembly of all pumps by the 1st of June. They'll be conducting some finalized testing on the last pump at 17th Street as they continue to demobilize their teams to get off-site so that they can turn them back over to Flood Protection Authority East. They'll be poised to be able to operate those systems as designed. At this point, I'd like to pause and turn it over to Mr. Glazer just to kind of talk for the joint venture on their road to 1 June and some of the great work they're doing to make sure that occurs.
Thank you. I thought I'd give you a quick update on the 4 pumps that we're currently doing the modifications on. Pump number 1 at 17th Street's back in, reinstalled, and we're currently testing as we speak. London number 2, we should have all the parts and pieces in by Thursday evening or Friday morning, and we'll work all weekend long around the clock to get those installed, and we'll be installing that pump by mid next week. London number 5 will have all the parts, but on the 18th, but the upper cover pipe, which will be here the 21st, but we can be starting to install the parts and pieces that we did on the 18th, and that will be installed by the 25th. The critical pump is pump number 4 at 17th Street. Currently, we're scheduled to get all the parts here the 22nd. To meet that schedule, we need the fabrication facility to work all weekend, which doesn't sound like a major task, but last weekend none of the workforce showed up and they were supposed to work all weekend. We're getting confirmation that their management team will run the machines this weekend if their workforce doesn't show up, so we can meet the schedule. We'll have that confirmation today. And then if we get those parts and pieces on the 22nd, it takes us approximately 7 to 8 days to get them all put on and get the pump back in the hole. So right at the end of the month, 30th, 31st, we'll have that pump back in. We're having daily coordination calls at 2 o'clock every day. We have members from the joint ventures at these fabrication facilities to ensure that we meet this schedule. Moving forward, we've had lots of challenges on getting the parts and pieces. We're going to continue to fabricate. So we have these, everything that we need on hand so we can get the work done on the additional pumps in 2025. It takes us approximately, now that we have all the learning curve behind us, 4 to 6 weeks, depending upon the weather, for the coating and the painting to get one pump complete. So if we have all these parts and pieces, we have a fighting chance to get all the remaining pumps done next year.
Thank you very much, Doug. And it's important to realize that when we think about the three-legged stool protection that they are installing into these pumps to deliver the 35-year design life, it's of course they're replacing some of those carbon steel components with stainless steel, the additional stainless steel that the Corps is bringing those resiliency features as well. They've gone through and done some significant sandblasting, priming, coating, and painting of all the systems within appropriate specs to provide that corrosion protection as well. And then also, previously not there, but the installation of the cathodic protection system, once again, getting those belts and suspenders on it. Also greatly appreciate the engagement at the senior executive level by Doug Glazer as a board member of CPRA, being able to get in directly with the fabricators to ensure that we will have success and meet the 1 June timeline. And as you heard from them, they're not going to slow down. They're going to continue to maintain production of all those repair parts so that when we do go back into those pumps together on the 1st of December of this year, once we're out of hurricane season, they can continue to move through in a rapid fashion and get all of these systems up and running, get the cathodic protection system fully installed so that we can deliver on our commitment of the 35-year design life. At the same time, also happy to report that based off of the current repairs that have been conducted by Kiewit for the long terms, the inspections that we did last year, and then a thorough review of the operation and maintenance logs, the pump manufacturers, Patterson Pump, has gone through and seen that all pumps are currently operating as designed and should be reliable for hurricane season 2024, and they stand by that. The other elements that we have is moving forward. We're also continuing to repair on the other critical items such as the basement cracks and sinkholes, have a good glide path on those as well. And ultimately, although a multi-year process, we're going to ensure that we work alongside CPRA, Flood Protection Authority East, to deliver these systems at the 35-year design life so they are ready and reliable for these citizens of New Orleans. But I'll pause there. A lot of great work over this repair season. Excited to get back in there on the 1st of December.
And those are Patterson pumps, the
Correct.
manufacturer?
Correct, sir.
What's those 1900s, that 12-foot diameter?
Yes.
The diameter is 12 feet. They, with the engines all in good shape?
Yes.
What brand, what type of engine?
I don't know the engine type, but I can get back with
This-
you.
They're Caterpillars.
The Caterpillar.
Caterpillars.
Just for building a lot of pump stations, I'm just curious about that. We have put Patterson pumps in Terrebonne Parish, and they've been very successful. Any other questions? Okay, Colonel?
Thank you very much, Doug. So continuing on with our updates for our hurricane storm damage and coastal storm damage risk reduction projects, really happy to report we continue to keep our foot on the gas on West Shore Lake Pontchartrain. We're looking at the upcoming award of West Shore Lake Pontchartrain 103 with a base award amount around $19 million. We're currently working, again, Chairman Deb, I appreciate the efforts of your staff to ensure that we've got the letter of no objection and authorization for entry to award the contract options to amount of $15 million. That's moving out. I know we're also working with your staff to get the letter of no objection on contract 109 to keep momentum going. At the same time, we are making amazing progress on the 8 ongoing contracts. Why is that important? That means that the majority of the West Shore Lake Pontchartrain alignment is currently under construction. 13.5 of the 18-mile levees and flood walls. Work currently underway is going to start paying dividends in the future hurricane seasons as the state and local efforts can flood fight the remaining gaps as we continue construction through 2027. Once again, critical to providing that risk reduction is the completion of those letters of no objections at those pipeline crossings. And I know your team is working hard on those as we continue to move forward. And all of this success as both CPRA continues to work on the Marpol freshwater mitigation feature, which ties into this system on the western side. It's been that partnership with both CPRA and the Pontchartrain Levee District as we continue to move this in a good direction. I'll pause there for any questions on West Shore Lake Pontchartrain.
No question, thank you.
Outstanding. Now, going through Mr. Alfred's comments earlier, really excited to report on the irreversible momentum that we are having on the Morganton Gulf system. You all are well aware this is a massive 98-mile levee system with environmental structures and floodgates that helps protect 200,000 residents, 52,000 structures in South Louisiana. Yesterday, it was my distinct honor to sign the FONSI and the plans and specs for Reach A. We are looking to go out for advertisement before Memorial Day this month, looking for contract award in early July. This has been, as you heard from Mr. Alfred, a massive partnership and journey with CPRA, Morganton the Gulf team, and the Corps of Engineers to see how we can deliver at the speed of relevancy through a very innovative approach where we're able to do a tiered environmental assessment off of the original programmatic SEIS has enabled us to get to this point. Why is that important? We are actually going to be able to award a construction contract 2 years ahead of the supplemental environmental impact statement, which we still have on glide path for March of 26. At the same time, as we get towards constructing of that gap through the phase 1 levee reach contract, we still maintain priorities for elements such as Reach F, which we're looking to design to complete in fiscal year 25, along with initiating other designs. And based off of our discussion with both CPRA and Morganton Gulf, how can we front load design? We've increased the capabilities that we are expressing on the amount of design we can do up front so that when we are done the supplemental environmental impact statement in 2026, we can move forward with a large scale amount of construction. Also, it's amazing to look at the work that we're doing. We've got 12 features under design, 6 of which are funded for construction under the bipartisan infrastructure law. Those, of course, being Miners Canal floodgates, the Gulf and Coastal Waterway East and West floodgates, Hump Canal, which we've got the preload completed, and the initiation on Reach A, which we are excited to do that groundbreaking together, along with the Lockport Toll Road's levee reaches. The other 6 features that we currently have funded for design only, we're moving out on those and looking to increase those. So once again, this is a major win for the Morganton Gulf team, CPRA, and the Corps, but it's also precedent setting. Probably one of the first times that we're going to get alignment up to the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works to be able to deliver in an expeditious manner for an area that needed it. And we're excited to see how we can leverage this opportunity again in the future. So I'll pause there on Morganton Gulf to see if there's any questions. All right, moving on to one of our other elements, looking at Louisiana's southern flank on Grand Isles, one of our critical barrier islands. We continue to make good progress under our construction repairs post-IDA. You can see here on the slide, the interim repairs contract for the 12 washout locations was completed along going March of 2023, but at the same time, the stone dune core contracts, you can see 2,200 linear feet are on glide path for completion, along with 34 breakwaters by August of 2024. At the same time, the dune repairs, we've got 4 miles of clay dune core that is currently underway. And as we move through, we're looking for completion of that in December of this year. The resiliency study continues to move on a good glide path with the initiated in February of '23, looking at our anticipated completion in September of 2027 on how we can provide additional resiliency features to the barrier island. And then also another great example of the partnership with CPRA, looking at ways and means that we can increase the offshore breakwaters, stone breakwaters is under Order 22, where it provides some opportunities and flexibilities to repair areas post ADA. So the Corps, working alongside CPRA, is moving out towards amending our previously approved project information report to seek approval and funding for construction of those additional breakwaters. And you can see those located in the purple polygon on the western side of the southern portion of the island. Once again, this is a great example of the synergy and partnership with the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, who is going through and performing the modeling of the additional breakwaters along with the Grand Isle shoreline. And those results of those models will be driven in and used for the development of that project information report so that we can obtain funding, once again, under flood control and coastal emergency to increase the resiliency of this critical barrier island. I'll pause there for any questions in regards to Grand Isle.
Colonel, I'd like to thank you for as expeditiously as y'all move, working with us to move forward on breakwater rocks and get rolling and great partnership in there. I think it's working well. Thank you very much for that.
No, thank you very much, Chairman. All right, and finishing up with our last update, and I'm remiss that Ms. Cormier is not here, so I will channel her saying rocket, 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 as we continue to move forward with our $296 million in funding that we've received, working alongside our Rock Island District of the Mississippi Valley Division that is a part of our regional delivery program. We do get 6 districts for the price of 1 in South Louisiana. We are on glide path to award the first design build contract for the first 21 structures in June of this year. This has been at the leading edge of the Corps' efforts for non-structural solutions as a part of our program, resulted in the ability for us to work with our headquarters, actually establish a non-standard estate utilizing the Napoleonic wall so that we can get the ability to move through, work with homeowners and elevate their structures. Also in partnership with CPRA, we're going to host a series of public meetings in Calcasieu, Cameron, and Vermilion parishes coming up starting on the 10th of June. At the same time, it's important to realize that a critical component of the Southwest Coastal Project is the ecosystem restoration on the southwestern shoreline. Still utilizing the $10 million of funding received, and we're also reviewing CPRA's design elements for the shoreline protection at Rockefeller Refuge. At the same time, also happy to report under the fiscal year 24 work plan, we received an additional $20 million for the ecosystem restoration portion of this project, so we can continue to increase that element. And that's just a portion of the $123 million that we received under the fiscal year 24 work plan for multiple projects that we're going to be working alongside CPRA to support. We'll get those details out to the board in the near future. So I'll pause there on Southwest Coast, but once again, another element where irreversible momentum is moving forward to help reduce risk for life, property, and prosperity in South Louisiana. Any questions?
Representative Terrain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel, on the elevations, is there there's a match, a local match required in there?
You're looking at a 65-35 cost share.
Okay. And is the state contributing to that, or is it the local, the homeowner as well as coming up with that?
CPRA is the non-federal sponsor for this element. So for the homeowner, the elevation will be supported through both federal and state funds. The key elements there, as we work with the parishes and the residents that are going to opt into, it's a voluntary program. We just have to ensure that their house is up to current building codes before it gets elevated above the base flood elevation level.
Okay, when you say up to building codes, is that including the fortified roof programs and other things the state are doing, or is it primarily just structural to provide for the elevation itself?
It's to ensure that it's in accordance with the current building codes of the area, and then also enable for its elevation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
Mr. Bourgeois.
Yeah, actually, Ms. Cormier just texted me and, said to tell you thank you. Explained that a tornado passed over her house on Monday and she just got power back last night, which is why she's not here. But to say thank you for the hard work in the western areas of our state.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Glad you could join us.
That's it, Colonel. No more questions, please, go ahead.
No, Chairman and members of the board, thank you very much for this opportunity, excited for the chance to come back and continue to provide you updates.
Thank you very much, Colonel, and the staff of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Thanks for working with us. That's the CPRA hurricane prep update. Bradley Barth with CPRA. And Executive Director Glenn Liddell.
Thank you, Chairman. Wanted, before we get started today, wanted to introduce our new CPRA Operations Division Chief, Brad Barth. Brad comes to us. He was, of course, at CPRA, works in the Operations Division for the last several years, but has really a wealth of experience both on flood risk reduction, operations, and a lot of the work that we do here at CPRA. So just happy to introduce him. And he's going to give you a presentation on hurricane preparedness that we do every year for the board. So thank you.
Hi, good morning, Board. Chairman Dove, appreciate your time today. Again, my name is Brad Barth with CPRA. I'm the Operations Chief. Hard act to follow there, and Colonel Jones. I appreciate his service and Durand and all things that they do in coordination with us, the state, and then most importantly with our local levee districts and parishes in terms of going into hurricane season. I'm going to jump right in and just kind of recap, kind of high level, our emergency management function here at CPRA. As you all aware, know, coastal zone area, our primary function is most likely tropical cyclone type activities. But in instances of high water events, maybe the lower MRNT, such as maybe 2016 and so forth, and some of the other large flood seasons we've had along the lower Mississippi River, we would get activated for those types of events to potentially offshoot of other things to maybe large scale oil spill or other type events as well in terms of our emergency support function. So in terms of pre-event, really as you guys are aware, in coastal Louisiana, we're either in hurricane season or we're in hurricane preparation season in the levee business. As we wind down from the previous season, we're assessing issues and damages throughout the season, working on repairs, upgrades, improvements, reducing risks throughout that non-flood season, doing our inspection work, and then coordinating in terms of overall communications. And as Colonel Jones stressed and Mr. Bourgeois, as you expressed, communications is the key across our federal, state, and local agencies and entities. And that's really where we try to aim in coming into hurricane season. So overall, as an agency, CPRA maintains obviously an emergency operation plan in coordination with GOSEP and the EOC in terms of how we would get called or activated during an event, and then what that looks like us for staffing overall from folks from possibly who's going to be sitting in with the UCG or at the EOC there as our emergency support function number 3, ESF 3 function as well. Again, coordination with the locals and the Corps is really very, very important in this stage. And I just give you an example, and I'll show some photos here in the next slide or two in terms of some pre-coordination. But ALBL, we're just coming off the tails of that meeting and that event with levee districts. And there we had the opportunity to gather some of the local levee districts in terms of Flood Protection Authority East, SLIFA West, and such, and the Corps Emergency Management and Operations, just sit down and kind of talk through where everybody's at and take that valuable time to just coordinate. Some of the other things that the state works on coordinating with is making sure our contact information is up to date. As you know, we go through administration change. The levy districts and parishes go through changes as well, making sure we got the right contacts, the right information for folks, making sure we're getting updated EOPs from all the levy districts and parishes. And then also flood flight inventories in terms of what all the locals have on hand, because the locals are going to take care of themselves first and exhaust all their resources before they reach up to the state and make requests. And then we'll help with that function, and then the same for us before we reach to the feds for that request as well. Some of the other tools that we have in this process is our LIMS system, our Levy Information Management System. I'll have a couple slides a little bit later. Helps kind of document our dashboard coordination with the local levy districts on closure of the gate systems across the coast. A hurricane gauge monitoring system. This is another tool that we use. This is really just kind of a consolidation of different key gauges. So different agencies, both at the state and the local level, have gauge systems that we use for operational decision making. And with that, this system just kind of pulls it all into one dashboard for us. So we don't have to go look at 4 different websites or contact 4 different agencies to gather all the information. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about is the AdCert forecasting system that the state uses to help, in essence, to actually manage our decision making for gate closures, depending on what we're seeing in a deterministic manner of the direction or the path of an oncoming storm. So in terms of preparedness, I just talked about this earlier. This is one that I'll brag on a little bit with Flood Protection Authority East in terms of coordination early. This is the surge barrier gate at IHNC, or the surge barrier there, the bypass gate, if you want to call it. This one was operated and closed here in April. They had some issues with some of the mechanical systems for the closure. Gate still operational, still functions, still works. But it just has to be manually closed at this point in time. So obviously you have the sector gate there, so this gate has been closed. And a little bit later I'll kind of show you how that works into the dashboards, where you can see that gate status now being closed. The picture off to the right actually shows the gate that would be seen from one of the dashboard tools. You can't see the little dot there, but it'll say surge barrier barge gate, and you can see obviously from this view it's in the closed position. As we get into an event and CPRA is mobilized to the EOC with GOSEP, again, we sit in the public infrastructure role in terms of an ESF3 function. This is where we're going to go ahead and mobilize staff there at GOSEP, and then we're also going to be, our main role there is to coordinate with the locals, the local levy districts and parishes in terms of what they're seeing, what we're seeing in terms of forecasting, what they're seeing on the ground, also resources and needs, and then also communicating that across all levels from whether it's National Weather Service to Corps of Engineers and such to GOSEP. Working as that intermediary to coordinate during an actual event. As the locals exhaust their resources and need additional assistance from the state, this is when we coordinate with them in terms of putting any requests in for whether it be pumps, HESCO baskets, sandbags, or the like. They would coordinate with us in terms of actual needs, quantities, sizes, and so forth, where they may need to get sent to or staged and so forth. We would route that, or they would route that through Web EOC, and then we would work with GOSEP and the state in terms of procuring those contracts or those resources, and then follow up with them getting to where they're supposed to go for an event. Post-event. So as a post-event, as it rolls on through and we get to a point where we have all clear to go out and start doing damage assessments, this is where CPRA will play a role here in coordinating directly with the local levy districts and parishes and with the Corps of Engineers to do inspections on our flood walls, levees and pump stations and such, and then also coordinating any kind of technical assistance that may need to be had or any request for technical assistance with the Corps of Engineers. Just to kind of hit some of the keys here in terms of operations here at CPRA. Obviously, number one is the great investment that both the federal government, state government, local government have put into our flood risk reduction systems across the coast. Our levees, our walls, our gates, our pump stations, our drainage structures. Our tools that we have to help us operate and provide information to make decisions during an event, our LIM system, our HDMS system, and then our ADCERT forecasting system or ASGS system. That's what we use overall in terms of operations. And I'll get into this a little bit on the ADCERT system. Again, this is a system that's set up to help and assist with making local decisions on gate operations for levee districts in parishes. This is not an evacuation tool. It is not a probabilistic forecasting tool that the state or the locals would be using to make evacuation type decisions. Here's an example of the limbs. Upper right-hand corner, you can see a little bit of the dashboard there and see all the different gate structures. The little green and red dots. Green obviously is open and red would be closed. So this is the system that we would use to help populate during an actual event where folks are actively closing gates during real time as an event approaches. And then down at the bottom, I just went ahead and snipped a little attribute out of this system for that same surge barrier gate that I showed you earlier, that large gate. And if you see down there, down about halfway down those rows, kind of a little bit small, but it'll show the status as being closed. So that's been updated in the system and it shows it being closed. Some of the other thing that we'll provide access to is contact information, some of the supplies that may be available and so forth, different levee districts, emergency operation procedure manuals and such. Some of the other opportunities we have with the LIM system is to be able to run real-time reports. As we have a storm coming in, we may need to be providing information to up the command with GOSEP or to the Corps of Engineers so we can run reports here in terms of current status of gates, gate closures, timing of gate closures from by a levee district or project and such. Similar, just another type of reporting feature here, just kind of see this report. Now, I just point out a number here down the bottom right-hand corner. Total number of gates in the LIM system right now is 691 on this report, but this report was run, example, back in 2021. Just checking in right now, we're up to about 699. So about 700 gates in totality that get examined and assessed as the system comes in. Again, just an example here of a hurricane gauge monitoring system. A lot of different gauges, whether it's a CPRA gauge, a NOAA gauge, a Corps of Engineers gauge, or a USGS gauge. Just looking at overall our systems over the years in terms of operations, some gauge works better than other gauges in terms of what we want to see in terms of information and data for making an operational decision. So this is just an assembly of those gauges on one platform and desktop for us to coordinate with the levee districts and the parishes. We'll talk real quick about our ADCERT Surge Guidance System, or ASGS. So this is in coordination with Coastal Resiliency Center, UNC, Dr. Fleming, and also strongly with LSU as well. And what this is basically a 24/7 system that runs deterministic paths of the storm as it comes in. So what we do in a nutshell is take the most recent National Hurricane Center advisory that gets put into the system, and then it's run with the ADCERT and SWAN software to model that track and that storm. And it gives us basically every 4 hours an update, real time, relatively real time, every 6 hours with every update, right? And in terms of decision making and forecasts what the surge looks like, we can also examine if it moves a little bit to the left or moves a little bit to the right. But again, this is just a single storm based on actual track as it comes in. And what that does is it puts great information in the hands of our levee districts CPRA, Corps of Engineers, and our local parishes. Here is just an example from a previous storm. This looks to be Isaac at some point in time. At PCCP, you can see the little dots represent the gauges that would come from that HDMS network system. And then the green and yellow and red lines would represent the forecasted surge from the AdCirc analysis to help folks have an idea of the timing. So timing and location, and in addition to the size and intensity and the forward speed of the hurricane, are extremely important in terms of making local decisions. And this puts a lot more information in the hands to make those decisions. Again, this is not for overall evacuation purposes, but solely for making operational decisions on closure of gate systems. Lastly here, just real quick, just highlights the location of our LIMS system. It's under our SIMS system, and so there's the address up there at sims.coastal.louisiana.gov, and in there you can navigate your way to the LIMS side. Our AdCirc ASGS system is also available through the Coastal Risk site with LSU. This is also known as CERA, CERA, and that's cera.coastalrisk.live. And then lastly, individual gauges, of course, is you can go through USGS, the Corps of Engineers, CPRA's other sites, or even into rivergauges.com. And so that is my general update today for hurricane preparedness.
Okay, question, Mr. Dowell.
Brad, just a reminder from the St. Mary Levee District, the importance of the bayou buff gauge, which has been removed. And, we used it for planning flood control, and I know it's probably 5 or 6 parishes that are impacted by the flow at that gauge, okay? And it's been removed, as you know.
Yeah, that's, Mr. Haddad, as you know, we're coordinating and discussing that one, and also looking at other gauges in that area as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Boudreaux.
Yeah, I think this is a broad statement. People think of CPRA, they often don't think about this aspect of it, the operation side, and specifically having an unfortunate experience of having gone through a direct hit from a major storm, how much CPRA helps in that regard. And I want to say that it's not just the operations folks, it's an all hands on deck approach to things, and it means the world. What things happen, they go wrong when you're trying to recover. I can say from personal experience, I'm in the field working the individual problem that's right in front of me, and then making those contacts with CPRA, who's trying to think ahead and work and pre-position things that'll help out. So it's a tremendous part of CPRA that I don't think people are paying attention to when you first think about CPRA as a protection and restoration organization. So thank you for all of that.
Yes, President Joe.
Thank you. So when we get into the kind of cone of uncertainty, I always look at the AdCirc models that are sent and forwarded to us by CPRA. I have not seen the HDMS system. Is that something that our EOCs and our parish presidents, they have access to that system?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Do we need to get a login or anything? Can I see on the corner it says log out on the screenshot?
Yeah. I can follow up with your staff on that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have access to that. Thanks.
Thank you, President Joe.
Let me add one thing, Chairman Dub. Director Thibodeau's here. We work obviously under the Governor's Office of Homeland Security. Just want to say, we did have an opportunity to take part in the training that Director Thibodeau hosted earlier this year, and that was actually a fantastic opportunity to let our new staff go through that process. So we just want to thank him for that, and let us kind of evaluate our ESF3 activities. So thank you.
Yeah, that standpoint, CPRA is extremely important to GOSTEP. So people don't realize it, I realize it, okay, and it's very essential. And I would like to, on behalf of Representatives Rang and I, we would like office space, in your 5,000 square feet space also. So in Thibodeau. I'd like a GOSTEP forward, and Representative Rang would like a representative office there too, Okay. But in all seriousness, CPRA and GOSEP are joined at the hip on the ESF three as well as the core, also. And we appreciate that relationship.
And Chairman, again, to reiterate the point, I wasn't asking for the office space, but that aside, I guess, Mr. Bourgeois and Glenn's point, you've come a long way and appreciate where you've gone because it was our first, I remember Chip, Brett, and I walking in the GOSEP on Gustav, and the GOSEP folks at CPR, who the hell are y'all? What do y'all do? And we got a little table and a phone. And it went from that to now it's an ESF3, and appreciate all the work that y'all been doing to get us to this point. But it is a critical component to the state's response, and appreciate all the work that y'all do.
And just send me what size offices y'all would like. With ice make or without.
Oh, of course, a wet bar and maybe.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, sir.
Hey, this is more, I guess, technical in the weeds question, but you had mentioned y'all update your ad cert modeling every 4 hours as the update comes out. What's y'all's kind of run time on those models, turnaround time, as far as when you can kind of put out your ad cert outputs?
About 3 hours.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Moving along, thank you all very much, and then, very informative, and thanks for the update.
Thank you, Chairman Dove and board members.
Very well put together. And the Parish Matching Award, Brandon Champagne with, CPRA.
All right, good morning, board. My name is Brandon Champagne. I'm a coastal resources scientist at CPRA. I'm honored to be presenting the Parish Matching Program Summary and Award announcement today. You might recall at the September board meeting last year, Kent Wolfras had kind of introduced this program. And so now I have the fun part today of actually awarding the FY24 Parish Matching Awards and also kind of giving you all an update on what we've been up to. So the purpose of the program, trying to support the implementation of projects that address the goals and objectives of the Coastal Master Plan, and also to facilitate the collaboration with parishes. We see an opportunity to directly support parish-led efforts, and also further parish priorities. In addition to that, we see an opportunity to leverage multiple sources of funding, whether that be federal, state, local, or private funding. For this fiscal year in particular, we have $7 million available for restoration and resilience work. I wanted to note that this program is distinct from the the Restore Parish Matching Program, which some of y'all might remember. And so this will be coming from instead state surplus and GOMESA funding. So a little bit on the eligibility for the program. Parishes must apply for the program directly, and they'll be reimbursed for their work. Participation in the program is limited to the 20 DE&R coastal zone management parishes, which you can see on the map there. And match for this program is required from the parish, although we don't really set any restrictions on that, so there's no amount, type, or source that we require. It's really at the parish's discretion. So we realized this was the first year that we'd actually be rolling out this program. So just had a list of some project types we expected to see. Although it's a pretty long list, this is by no means an exhaustive list of what we want to fund. If there's other projects, other ideas that could be thrown that could also further the master plan, we'd love to see them. These are just some examples. I pulled some pictures from our partnership fund program, one being land management, conservation, vegetative invasive removal, and also earth and terrace construction near Pontiac. So this is a little bit on the timeline. So we announced, like I said, that RFP in September of 2023. Since then, the proposals have been due, and we've been evaluating them through March and April. I definitely want to thank our team that helped to evaluate those proposals, being Kent Wolfras, Wes LeBlanc, Brian Lazina, Jessica Converse, Chris Barnes, and Errol Mouse. Definitely couldn't have done this work without them. We were looking at these different kind of considerations for the proposals, including master plan objectives, amount of matching funds, the constructability of the project, benefits, resilience improvements, and also the synergy with existing efforts. As you can see here, we're notifying in May of the awards, so we're right on track. So to get into it, I have a list of the parishes on the left, along with their projects. So first, Jefferson Parish is doing their non-structural home elevations, as well as Grand Isle vegetative plantings. Lafourche Parish is doing the North Bayou Lawrence Terracing project. St. Bernard Parish is doing their Lake Leary marsh creation and rim restoration project. St. John the Baptist Parish is doing the Bayou Roy hydrologic restoration. St. Tammany Parish is doing the St. Tammany Living Shoreline project. And Vermilion Parish is doing the North Vermilion Bay Shoreline protection. You can see the awards to the right. I did want to point out, I think it's really great that we're seeing so much MASH being used and added to the program. I think that's really the strength of the program, is that we're seeing so many different types of funding sources coming together, combining to do something larger than what originally it was intended to do. So just a little bit more on the projects themselves. I have a map up there of the different layouts. First, Jefferson Parish is going to be doing home elevations for 22 homes approved by FEMA in Grand Isle for non-structural improvements, and also doing 4 acres of dune planting in Grand Isle along a 2-mile stretch. In Lafourche Parish, they're doing over 36,000 linear feet of terracing, and that'll enhance over 200 acres of marsh in the Bayou Lawrence area, which, as y'all probably know, got a pretty bad beating from Hurricane Ida. Next, St. Bernard Parish, there'll be this funding will help support the creation of over 400 acres of marsh and restore about 2.5 miles of Lake Leary rim. Next, St. John the Baptist Parish will be designing, engineering, and constructing about 5 school bank gaps nearby Roy, and this will help reduce impoundment in that swamp and improve about 1,800 acres of that habitat. St. Tammany Parish, they'll be also designing, engineering, and constructing about 500 linear feet of shoreline protection along Goose Point as part of their Living Shorelines project. And last but not least, Vermilion Parish, they'll be constructing over 1 mile of rock breakwater to protect some eroding parts of North Vermilion Bay. And so just kind of recap some of the highlights. So we're seeing from these projects, it'll include over 2 miles of segmented rock breakwaters, over 5 miles of terracing. We'll see benefits for multiple habitats, including swamp, barrier islands, and marsh. We'll see some resilience improvements and flood risk reduction for about 22 homes. And lastly, also Lake Leary shoreline restoration, which is a pretty hotbed restoration activity. I'm happy to answer any questions. You can see mine and Wes's contact information up there. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
No question. Thank you very much. Great awards, and I want to thank the participating parishes, and we look forward to next year. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and move forward with the executive session, with the Attorney General's Office and CPRA Board. And so the state of Louisiana through CPRA Board and CPRA versus the United States Department of the Army, docket number 2:24 CV 01075, U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Louisiana. And with that, Mr. Peterson.
We've asked that we go into executive session with the board just to discuss the litigation that was filed on April 29th with the Corps, so that the board can have any questions. We can talk freely about the litigation and give you all an update on where things are at this point.
And with that, I need a motion to enter into executive session. Mr. Bourgeois. And second, Mr. President Jewell. Any public comment on the motion to enter into executive session? Any public comment? Seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and move to the room behind us. And, upon after return, after the executive session, we're gonna reopen the meeting, and you're welcome to sit here and, so with members of the board and Attorney General's office.
To go into session.
Yes, okay. Thanks for the correction. Motion to move into executive session. Oh, I'm sorry, okay, I thought I did. Okay, we just need a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Vote, motion, carries, and we'll proceed to the back room. Okay.